The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a financial planning practice serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed by our hosts are their own and do not reflect the views, policies, or position of either Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve. Securities are offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. Serving Those Who Serve is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services, Inc.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Fed15 podcast, presented by Serving Those Who Serve. Each week, we'll discuss the latest news and info that Feds need to know in 15 minutes or less. So whether you're a seasoned federal employee or just starting out in your career, Fed15 has got you covered. Grab your coffee, kick back, and we'll tell you what you need to know but might have missed. We're your hosts. I'm Chelsea English, and I'm joined by Dan Sipe.
I'm back again. I didn't die. Hey, Chelsea, good to have you back. It's been a minute.
I know. I'm happy to join you again here on the podcast.
No, this is fantastic. And so refresh my memory. Your husband's an instructor at the Naval Academy. So
that's correct.
They're wrapping up for the year. That's a big deal. Yes.
They sure are. Yep. Today is commissioning, which is a huge deal. The culmination of so much work put in by the midshipmen. And it's, a huge event here. Annapolis is packed. The Blue Angels are here. And so a lot has gone into this school year, but especially this past week with preparations for commissioning. So we're excited to have that wrapping up. And then afterwards, later on today, we're actually leaving to go to Spain.
Okay. So commissioning gets you a trip to Spain. How do I get commission?
I know that sounds good, right? Yeah, we just kind of figured it was a good time with the school year being over for him to take some time off. And with the Memorial Day weekend, it just felt like a good time to take a quick break. I spent some time one summer in college with a host family doing a study abroad in Spain. And so we'll be visiting them. That's in the Galicia part of Spain. And then we'll be spending most of our time in Madrid. So we've bounced around Spain, seen a few different areas, but never Madrid, actually, believe it or not, besides just the airport. So we're very excited. Yeah.
Yes. I think I may have mentioned in the past, I told you, I don't know that our listeners know, I have somewhat of a connection to the Naval Academy because in high school, I was a struggling wrestler, not very good at it. But at the time, Naval Academy was one of the best wrestling camps out there. And it was truly paradoxical because this will get me some hate mail from some wrestlers out there, but I've always maintained that wrestling is an eating disorder with a fight attached. And so you're always making weight. You're miserable from Thanksgiving through the new year. But when you go to the Naval Academy, the food is awesome and there's tons of it. So you get to wrestle and eat. So I'm pretty sure that God's design for heaven for wrestlers, if we live our lives right, it's Naval Academy Wrestling Camp.
Wow. That's awesome. That's great to hear.
Yeah. So very, very cool. Well, we've got some pretty interesting topics today. So I'll be talking a little bit. We're highlighting some of the components of OPM's FEHB handbook, federal employee health benefits. So a lot of things we try and do with this, folks, is to read the stuff you don't have time to read, give you a quick summary on it. Maybe it'll be enough. Maybe you can take a deeper dive in one of our articles. And then, Chelsea, you have a very exciting one, which are the best federal government agencies to work for in 2024.
Yes, very exciting.
So looking forward to that. So jumping in, the section that we're covering from the FEHB handbook, we're talking about your ability to suspend or stop your federal employee health benefit insurance. This is the healthcare stuff. Okay. So you can stop during any open season. You can also change during any open season, but you also can do it within 60 days of a qualifying life event, which examples of that would be marriage, divorce, birth of the child. Now, if you go out you can't re-enroll until the next open season or another qualified life event. Okay. An annuitant can never re-enroll unless they are rehired by the government or their FEHB coverage was suspended for Medicare, Medicaid, or TRICARE. So important point there. And folks, I will urge you to attend our FEHB webinar to really get a deep dive on this. If you're a retiree and you cancel FEHB, there's no going back. So important thing, no difference. Canceling FEHB at the end of your career can interrupt the 5 years of continuous service that you need to be able to carry it into retirement. That's a huge benefit for Feds. So you want to be careful of those situations. So now there are folks who could be about to lose their FEHB coverage, and they can apply for temporary continuance of coverage, TCC, in the time frame for which FEHB enrollment is still allowed, and that depends on certain factors. Check out our article to go deeper on that. Not everybody can do it. So certain people can, certain people can't. So you want to know your rules. And hopefully this doesn't happen to anybody that would ever watch our podcast. But if you were discharged from your federal job for reasons other than gross misconduct, that temporary coverage can be granted for up to 31 days after your last pay period. Family members who become ineligible for FEHB, typically, most often that's children who are getting above a certain age, okay, can also have temporary continuing coverage for up to 36 months. And TCC can also be granted for individuals who experience a qualifying life event. So lots of rules here you need to understand and invest time in them. I'm going to tell you, folks, think long and hard before you drop FEHB. Too easy to keep it, too flexible, too many options. You get into retirement and you're weighing, hey, do I need this because I have TRICARE? Do I need this because of something else? Think in terms of suspending rather than canceling. I think Ed Zerndorfer calls it the 13th commandment. Thou shalt not drop your FEHB. So hit our article on the FedZone, that's fed-zone.com, and dig into that. We're always trying with this to bring something to the front that you might not have been thinking about, but it's like, hey, wait a minute. I know where I can find the answers on that. So this can jog your memory. There's an article to follow up. Our website's searchable. Feel free to use that. So, Chelsea, drum roll, please. Tell me about the best U.S. federal government agencies to work for in 2024.
Yes, very exciting. I'm sure our listeners are eager to hear, who's on the list and where. So the best federal government agencies to work for in 2024, this is based on the 2023 results of the Federal Employee Viewpoint Survey, also known as FEVS. The FEVS is an annual survey that gathers employees' opinions on their work environment and agency management. So let's start by looking at the large agencies, which are those employing at least 15,000 people. The top performer for the 12th consecutive year, yes, you heard that right, 12 consecutive years, NASA has topped the list for large federal agencies. Incredible. It's really remarkable to see how consistently NASA has maintained its reputation as a great place to work. That's just so cool. The department
for an exterior geek like me, I'd consider it a play date to spend a day there.
Oh my gosh.
I'd just be underfoot annoying all the smart people, but would love it.
I know. It's so exciting to talk to our clients who work at NASA and listening to one comes to mind in particular, talking about the work that they've done with the Mars rover, Percy. And it's so cool. And everyone that I've talked to who works at NASA has just incredible things to say. So well-deserved. NASA, keep doing what you're doing. Keep up the great work. The Department of Health and Human Services clinched the number 2 spot, also doing great work, as all of our government agencies do, but definitely good for them to be recognized for what they're doing there. And then, unfortunately, the Social Security Administration ranked at the bottom among large agencies with only 52.1% of respondents considering it a good place to work.
Oh, I want to recount on that, man. I know some happy Social Security people.
Absolutely. I do too. And what they're doing is so important. When you think about, we were discussing last week the clients who had some really, really scary Social Security disability benefit questions and really stressed about that. And I know a member from our team spent a lot of time on the phone with the Social Security Administration, and they just talked about what they're doing is so important. And it absolutely is. So
yeah. Gosh, now you got me scared. I don't know how well I'd do on this poll if we gave it to serving those who serve employees. So let's move along.
I think it'd be very high ratings, Dan.
I hope so.
Definitely. At least from my perspective.
I have a very fragile ego here. Okay, so that's big agencies. How about mid-size?
Yep. So moving on to the mid-size agencies, which employ between 1,000 and 14,999 people. The Government Accountability Office retained its position at number 1, demonstrating steady employee satisfaction. I've heard a lot of good things about this particular agency. I've actually got a good friend who's transitioning from the Navy soon and really considering civil service with the Government Accountability Office. Yep. They're always just talking our ear off about the GAO and the work that they're doing. So keep it up. Maybe next year you'll keep your number 1 position as well.
Super.
A notable climber this year in the mid-size agencies is the General Services Administration.
GSA.
That's
cool.
Right. Yep. They made significant strides to secure the number 2 spot by surpassing both the Securities and Exchange Commission as well as the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission.
Wow.
So, yeah, I've heard a lot of people, reporting high job satisfaction, specifically from the Securities and Exchange Commission. I don't have any personal attachments to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, but I know they are popular in terms of employee satisfaction. So for the GSA to surpass both of those in 1 year, they're doing great things over there. Keep it up.
Yep.
And then on the other end, the Court Services and Offender Supervision Agency was ranked lowest among mid-sized agencies.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you make a list, somebody's got to be at the top, somebody's got to be at the bottom. But I'm trying to think if we've met anybody from there. I don't think we have, but when we do, okay, we're going to do our best to make sure that their life experience is awesome.
Absolutely.
We'll do what we can to help with that. Well, that's fun. That's a cool list. And I mean, NASA's kind of got a cool rep no matter what.
They sure do.
Hey, we shoot stuff into the stars and bring it back. Because, sure. Why wouldn't you?
Who wouldn't love working there?
Exactly. And, I'm kind of the belief, folks, I think if you've listened for a while, I'm a NASA geek, but I do think it's part of what's best in us. What's out there. What's out there, grow, understand, that type of thing. And funny story, I think I may have told it on the podcast before. I grew up with signed pictures of the Mercury astronauts on my wall, as a 1950s kid. Well, one of the reasons for that was there was a point where all of the Mercury astronauts were given access to Corvettes. I mean, you couldn't even do it today with government ethics. And my dad was part of the team that put that promotion together from Chevrolet.
Oh my gosh!
And so you give somebody a Corvette, they'll sign a picture for you. I'm just telling you that it's pretty much a given. I will say that's automatic. You walk up to anybody and say, "I'll give you a Corvette if you sign this picture yourself." They're going to do it. So that was a very cool experience for me, and like all the kids of that era, with our minds were just captivated.
Absolutely.
However, tiny beef, just tiny one. Back in 1970, I was pretty sure I'd have a jetpack by now.
Yeah.
So, just one little thing, NASA. I'm on your side. Big fan. I'm 67. I'm doing good, taking care of myself, but I don't have another 100 years. So anything you can do, give me a jetpack before I check out. That would be awesome.
Well, how far are you looking to go with this jetpack?
I understand my limitations, so I'm not thinking about I'm just going to pop it on and fly to work.
Okay.
I think for the initial, if I can, And somewhere in there, Mary will say, get down before you break your neck. So if I can, come down safely from that, that will satisfy my whole experience.
Okay. Well, I've seen some pretty cool, water jetpacks and water tools like that. So that's something you may be interested in, just to kind of dip your toe in the jetpack game.
I may have to take you up on that if I can get a permission slip from Miss Mary, because she is the keeper of making sure that I don't do anything stupid in a lot of cases, because she is the brains of the outfit.
And we are
that is all the time we have for today, but we will be back next week to bring the latest updates you need to make informed decisions about your career and financial well-being as a Fed.
Be sure to subscribe to this podcast on our YouTube channel, Fed Life, so you never miss an episode. And please remember to share it with your friends and colleagues.
Absolutely. And for more information on the topics covered in today's show and more, check out the blog. That's blog.stwserve.com. And subscribe to our newsletter, The Weekly Serving, to get all the latest news for Feds delivered straight to your inbox every single week. Don't have to go looking for it.
And for those who want to dive even deeper into learning about your federal benefits and financial planning for Feds, we encourage you to join us for one of our complimentary webinars. We have the very popular FEHB and Medicare webinar that Dan mentioned earlier on June 18th from 10:30 to 2:30. And our next TSP webinar is on June 20th from 1 to 4 p.m. Or if you prefer a one-on-one approach, feel free to reach out to our team directly for a financial planning consultation at ask.stws@STWServe.
Absolutely. Always here for you, folks. So, thanks for listening to the Fed15. I'm Dan Sipe.
And I'm Chelsea English.
And we'll see you next week.